Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, August the 2nd, 2017, and welcome back to another episode of Bill Bing's Trumpet Talk. So, the last couple of trumpet talks, I've brought up the subject of essential tremors, and that's been a very interesting conversation I've had with quite a few players. And I tried to relate that to just general anxiety in playing. And so, I guess the first thing to talk about today is how common anxiety in playing actually is. There are a few players, I think, that probably when they play, it's very comfortable most of the time. I don't know if it's comfortable all the time. Maybe it might be. So allegedly, Herseth said when asked if he got nervous, he said, "What's there to get nervous about?" Or somebody else said, or another response was, "I don't know if this is true or not, but he says, I might miss notes, but they're not the important ones." So these are the lucky people, and I can relate to that in some way, in that when I played in groups on a regular basis, a lot of the tension would not be present. The tension would disappear after a couple of months, really, playing with a group on a regular basis. But that's not to say it went away entirely. In fact, one time I was going to play a recital, and a friend of mine sent an email to Ghitalla, who played first trumpet in the Boston Symphony, and great player, a great artist and soloist, and mentioned I was very apprehensive about an upcoming performance. And Ghitalla emailed me back, and he said, "I often compare playing a recital to going to my own beheading." He said, "Best of luck. Sorry I can't sit in the front row and suck lemons." And so at that point I began to think, well, there are different models, just as there are different ways of warming up, right? That work for different people. And so I got to be thinking, well, if Ghitalla feels that way, maybe for me to feel so apprehensive wasn't necessarily a unique thing. And in fact, I could actually make myself a better performer by accepting that. So since then, whenever I go on and play a performance, I'll go and I'll think, wow, I wish I wasn't here. I should be gardening or something. And then I remember Ghitalla. And so now I think, well, if I'm not nervous, if I'm not a little apprehensive, then I think there's actually something wrong. So I come to the conclusion that maybe that's not such a bad way to think, at least in my particular case. Because more often than not, the performance would go well. So that's one aspect of individuality, or the person having to decide for themselves what works best for them. It didn't necessarily work best for me to have this image of me going out there and playing correctly, perfectly, or whatever. That just never could sink in with me. So I think that's one important thing that all of us need to know. And another thing that I've been thinking about lately is the individuality of each of our performance, our warm-ups, excuse me, that not one size fits all. And I think I've talked about this before, but as I teach, I realize that we have to get away from the mold of thinking this is the way that we have to do it. We have to buzz, we have to play long tones, we have to do Caruso or a stamp. Lord knows I'm never far from any one of those kinds of exercises, or Claude Gordon's works. In my teaching in the last week, I've used both Claude Gordon, I've used Jimmy Stamp, I've used Caruso, and also James Thompson is never far away, and I'm sure there are a lot of others that I'm missing as well. But those are the things that are close to me when I warm up myself and when I teach. But I had a student recently, a very fine young trumpet player, and after listening to him play a little bit, it seemed to me maybe the best thing for him to do would be to play a ballad, play a few notes, maybe do some playing around a drone, just to get warmed up a little bit, and then play a ballad such as Body and Soul. And when you play a tune like Body and Soul, this particular performer, very good player, when he was going to warm up, you could tell he wasn't comfortable with the material that he had been using. but we warmed up a little bit, and then he played body and soul. And so one thing I love about jazz ballads is that you use your own vibrato. Right, so you use you use the vibrato like a mini lid bend, and so when you're playing those kinds of songs, you're playing beautiful ballads. You're playing songs that are comfortable to you, and they actually help you warm up. So I'm also reminded of once when I asked the great trumpet player Sergei Nabarakov what he did for a warm up. We were at a party here in L.A. and I expected to get some insight into his warm up, and he said he doesn't really warm up. I said, what about Stamp or Clark or something like that? He says he does some Clark, but mainly it's the solos. So there's another way of doing things. Maybe it's changed, and I'd sure love to have a video where he talks about his performance. Maybe somebody could get a hold of him and bring it to his attention of how much the trumpet community would love to have his warm-up on video. In fact, wouldn't that be a fabulous thing to have just a warm-up channel for brass players, where each brass player says, well, this is what I do for a warm-up. Maybe I'll bring in some players and we'll go that route. But in any case, know that as an individual, you have unique sets of you have a unique set of circumstances that make it in your best interest to recognize what's unique about you. And another thing we were talking about the other day with one of my students is that maybe you could say, God, I wish I played like Doc. Who doesn't? But on the other hand, I want to incorporate some of Doc's playing into my playing. But I don't want to play like Doc, because God knows there's only one Doc. And so maybe by listening to him, we can learn from him and incorporate that into our playing, much as Doc has done, I'm sure, over his life, incorporated many things in his playing. Another great thing about Doc Severinsen is when I used to play with the Los Angeles Opera Orchestra, Doc would come down and he'd love to talk trumpet. He was always saying, what kind of mouthpiece do you use? What do you do for a warm-up and things like that. So he's someone that learns from others. And we have to take that as a cue from one of the great players of our generation, is to never stop learning. Well, stop talking, but just to add quickly that I want to thank all those people that are subscribing to this channel. There's 1,000 people that are subscribed to this trumpet channel, Bill Bing's Trumpet Talk, and I have over 200,000 hits. So we are all part of this rather unique community, and if we were to get into a room, it would be wonderful to listen to each other and to hear each other play and to learn from each other. But that's what's so great about the internet, and I'm hoping that this series inspires others to do the same. Okay, well, it's been great connecting again. Take care and keep blowing. Bye bye.